Okay, in this video, I'd like to do a more detailed explanation of what you need to do with the fundamental discussion posts. Notice if we start with the fundamental module, and I want to go right here where it says Fund Post and Discussion, I'm going to open in a new tab. So I come up now, here we are. And you are right here, you're watching this video. So let's start with what we need to do, and let's start with the behavioral interview question. You know, these are really helpful. Once again, we've had students tell us they've actually had the same questions on real job interviews, and of course, they perform well because they were ready, having already answered these questions here in the class. And you're going to use the STAR approach. And so there's a couple of things to help you with. Right here is, let me see if yeah, right here, behavioral interview techniques, the STAR approach. Notice what you do is you list the situation or task, the action you took, the results you achieved. And you're going to use that as a format. So you'll literally list this one of these words in bold, and then describe the situation or task you needed to accomplish, the action you took, so you do action, and then results. So you can follow that. There's also the video here on the stars. So, you know, in real life, if you do a job interview and you're not hired, they do not give you feedback in terms of what you did wrong or could have done better in terms of the interview. You don't get any feedback at all. They say nothing. So the only thing you can do is practice these like what we have here in the class. And the good news here in the class, you can actually get feedback on your responses to the behavioral interview questions. So you can practice and do that. Now, you also note if we look at the principle of the fundamental module, and let me see if I can go down here. Let me right click and open this. And we would see right here, the principle is management can be taught and learned. So that's the fundamental principle. And so it says here, describe a training or course you took where you applied a concept from the course to help you better manage a situation. So I think you can see this question assumes or implies that you can learn to manage. And not only that, but you're open to learning. For example, wherever you're doing the interview, the company probably has their own way of going about things. And one of the things they want to know is if you are able to learn their way of doing things. So you're going to answer that. Now let's look at the rubric to get an idea of how to deal with that. That's the star. Here's in posting assignments. Notice each assignment has specific instructions provided at the link in the module. And so as a length of response, notice your first post should be anywhere 1 to 2 pages. So target maybe 1,000 words. Your follow-up discussion post should be 1 to 200 words in order to be substantive. Now, let's look at how I'm going to be grading here. I'm looking at really three components in the grading. And the first one is complete. And this means you answered all of the questions and all of the sub-questions. And that's the very first thing I check for. And you'd be surprised how many people do not do that. And that includes an introduction and a conclusion to your response. So you want to make sure you've completed all of the questions and sub-questions. Then it needs to be professional. So remember earlier in the overview we talked about how important format was. To be professional, it needs to be formatted correctly. And once again, there's an example provided. When using STAR and diet, you place either the acronym or the first word. Say, like, for example, the situation, you place that in bold, then describe it. So it's easy to follow. When you use key terms or phrases from the chapter, you bold them or place them in italics so to highlight it. And it connects what you're writing to the content. Now, in thoughtful, it needs to be clear that you read the material and responded. So you're demonstrating an understanding of what you read, the course content. And so if you look at this, once again, you'll probably want to bold key words from the text or key phrases that connects your narrative discussion back to the course content. And then you want to use good writing skills as well. And so being professional, being thoughtful, meaning that you can demonstrate understanding of the content, and complete. Those are the three primary things to grade your discussion post. Also, you can even see on the rubric, these are the 4 positions that will be graded using that rubric. And then this is further explanation if you'd like to see them. Now, in your discussion post, you need to add value. You want to create conversation, and you also want to post on multiple days, and you want to achieve the minimum of 5 substantive posts. And so that's the grading rubric. Now let's see if we go back. Here we go. Now let's take a look. Let's go down to number 2. Let's take a look at IDC West simulation. With the diet process, we're kind of easing you into the diet process. So with number 2 on the IDC West simulation, you simply are going to answer the question, who would you pick? Whereas as you review the situation, there's an opportunity for Jake to select a team. So based on the interviews, who would you pick, and then provide an explanation why, and who would you not pick and why not? And then use content from the terms in the chapter to support your answer. And notice you do not apply diet to this question. Right now, you just answer the question above. Now, when we get into the next one, number 3, the manager's action research process, this is diet. And we're kind of easing you in here. So there's 3 parts to the Oil Hat Joe story. So you're going to watch video 1, 3.1, and have fun watching that, and answer the questions. In other words, what is, if you look at this, what is the mission? And let me see here. Let me grab my notes here. What is the mission? What is it that you want to see as the end outcome or end result, or what's different? And then also you want to connect it to the principle, this notion that management can be learned. And so and I would recommend you answer this without looking ahead, because there's kind of a surprise ending to this. And I'm not grading on this being right or wrong in terms of matching the real life scenario. It's using the content from the text. Then you're going to move into video 2. And with video 2, what you're actually going to do, you're going to scan and then kind of diagnose. And, what is the problem and what is the cause? And then state your intervention and support it with content from the chapter. And once again, don't look ahead. I just go with the information that you know so far. And then you can move into video 3.3 and evaluate the results in episode 2 by describing the impact of the interventions and how can you transfer the learning for the future. So what we mean by that, how can you transfer, is how can you continue to get the positive results from the intervention? And ultimately, how could you transfer this to your dream job? And so that takes care of question 3. Then you're going to come down to question 4, and you're looking for an important term or concept from the reading that you found helpful, and place it in bold, the term or the phrase. Describe why and how it is helpful to you. In other words, how will it help you as a leader or a manager or in your dream job? Then you're going to do question 5, which is an exam. Create an exam question. Notice no true, false, no fill in the blank. Do either multiple choice, multiple answer, or matching question. And it's possible these could be used on a midterm. So you want to write some good ones. And then last of all, what are your reactions? In other words, as you reviewed the tutorials and you looked at questions 1 through 4 above, these are the keys or tips to completing the discussion board. And here are some questions and suggestions you have for future forums. So you're reacting to this, including questions and suggestions. And then last of all, you're going to do a conclusion that summarizes your experience in answering the questions. It's like it can be the moral to the story. In other words, what's the takeaway for you? And it should describe how are you different now based upon this module. Then, once you have all that done, you're going to post this within your group. And there's 10 members in your group. And then you'll come back the next day and you'll start to read the responses of other members in your group. And you can begin to add your discussion comments, add substantive comments. And then don't forget to watch the best practices video, because you're going to see students from last year who, in other words, the questions have changed a little bit, but it's close enough that you can see how they responded to them, and it'll give you a really good idea of how to format your discussion, and then also use the formatting right here. And so this is the fundamental discussion post. And notice that this format, this process, will be repeated in each module. I hope you find this helpful.